for Pease.
I can't yell as loud as the rest of you. I have a quieter voice,
Turn that mic up.
but it still says the same thing.
Quiet
And I
riot.
was told that this was a meeting of different kinds of people. So if you get a quiet one, why, that's okay, right? All over America, people like you are assembling to express their discontent with the government in 3 areas: irresponsibility, even insane spending, excessive taxation, and bailouts to the most irresponsible of the population. 500,000 people gathered in Orlando, Florida 3 weeks ago, and tea parties have been held in most states of the Union prior to this time. At least 70 cities had them or are having them today, and Washington, D.C. is expecting up to 1 million people. Never in my many years as a political scientist have I seen populist rage as we have before us today. The national media has been slow to cover this bipartisan anger. MSNBC even showing hostility to it. I think it does much to discredit them. This particular network even arguing that this movement is not spontaneous, but instead directed from Washington, D.C. Such is preposterous. No one is directing anything, and no one on this platform has a script to follow except me, and I wrote my own. This is a sincere effort to express our collective concern for the road our career politicians are taking us on, and it is entirely locally directed. We are appreciative of our local first grade teacher, Julie Demos, for making this gathering possible. I've noticed she's a little shy like me, likes to hide behind other people. Would you please express your appreciation to her with me? If, where the career politicians are leading us, we're only on a road to nowhere, that would be bad enough. But most of us see more debt and bigger government, even perhaps the end of freedom as we know it. The scariest part is that if it were not for the local media and the internet, especially the internet, the only completely free press we have, this groundswell would be ignored. You are here because you love freedom and know that something is very wrong. Nowhere in history has the solution to debt successfully been to create more debt. The Weimar Republic of Germany tried it after World War I, and the people starved, though they were millionaires. When has mother ever advised her child who has overextended a credit card to get more cards and overextend them also? The asylum has moved to Washington, D.C. And you know it. Your gut tells you so. And both parties are responsible. Irresponsible, even insane spending means either massive inflation or excessive taxation in the very near future. Many of you are here today because you know that the debt incurred in the last 6 months cannot be paid back in your lifetime. Passing it on to our children is immoral. So said George Washington in his famous farewell address when he argued that the only acceptable debt was on unavoidable wars and pled that we not ungenerously pass to posterity that which we ought to bear ourselves. I need the last sentence. It's all right. It is in fact taxation without representation. How can one argue that we have representation when not one of our representatives or senators admit to having read the stimulus bill before voting to enslave us with $787 billion additional dollars of debt? How could they, when only 10 copies were printed, with the House getting 5 to share with its 432 members who voted on the over 1,100-page document the next morning? The Senate's 5 copies were shared with its 100 members who voted the next evening. They had 24 hours. A yes vote without reading it is irresponsible and unacceptable. And every single senator and representative should be removed who did so. Whether Democrat or Republican, at the earliest opportunity, and each party should replace them with those who are fiscally responsible. We are now over $12 trillion in debt. Most Americans have no idea what that means. The numbers are so staggering. $1 million dollar bills stacked on top of each other would go 68,000 miles into the heavens, a third of the way to the moon. With our present debt, we could go to the moon, return to Earth, back to the moon, and again to Earth with $1 bills stacked upon each other. I wish I were exaggerating. If we spent $1 million a day since the birth of Jesus Christ, we would have spent only 3/4 of $1 trillion today. The concept of taxation without representation is even more readily apparent when we realize that it passes to our children and grandchildren who have no say in its origin. You Democrats and you Republicans who voted for this, how can you live with yourself? I do volunteer work at the Taft Federal Prison, and some there have openly expressed the idea that you should be there serving time with them. Those who wish to sell us slavery argue that this massive debt is necessary to save the economy. Everyone who understands the free market philosophy understands this to be a hoax. We have had tough bumps in the road before. They come and they go in a few months or a couple of years. The most recent, bigger economic downturn than today was in 1982, not in the 1930s. The unemployment rate in 1982 was 10.8%. Today it is 8.5%. Then a 30-year mortgage was 17.6%. Now it is 5.5%.